As a lifelong fan of the Borderlands franchise, I am still amazed at how unique and creative most of the items continue to be, even after all these years. Sure, there's going to be some duds here and there, but ultimately, there will be something of interest, even for the most casual looter-shooter fans. And if you've ever played a Borderlands game, then you'll most likely know the sting of using an item you thought would shred, only to be shocked and embarrassed by its lack of awesomeness. Well, stick with me and we can commiserate in our love of ineffective items together. Today, I'd like to share with you my top 10 list of items I wish did not suck in Borderlands 3. After 4,000 hours in this game, I have developed an affinity towards ugly duckling items that for some reason, I just love regardless of how ineffective they are in battle. So sit back and relax as I wax poetically about some items that I love, despite all their flaws and false promises of destruction and mayhem. Let's get started. Starting off our countdown at number 10, we have the Auto Dispensary, a blue rarity shield made by Hyperion that is obtained from a mission on Meridian outskirts called Healers and Dealers. What's unique about the shield? Well, when damaged, the shield has a 35% chance to drop either an upper or downer pill that can buff or nerf certain attributes of your character. And what's even cooler is that these effects last 8 seconds and they stack. The problem is that they never stack enough to make you OP enough to justify this shield over any potential legendary or even a purple one you've acquired up to the mission start. Also, in the heat of battle, you tend to grab every pill you see, even if it's a downer, and at best they'll cancel each other out, or at worst you'll get killed sooner. I love the idea of this shield, it's just not strong enough to justify its existence. Next up at number 9, we have the Soleki Protocol. The Soleki Protocol is an epic sniper manufactured by Malawan, but is locked to only one element. They always come in shock. It's a reward for completing the Proof of Wife mission on Electricity. Its gimmick is very cool to use, which makes it all the more painful to admit this does not shred. Even though it only has one element, it still has 2 firing modes. One will shoot a horizontal line of 5 shock orbs, and the other will shoot a vertical line. The projectiles pierce and ricochet, in addition to dealing shock splash damage. On paper, this thing should absolutely destroy anything but badasses or bosses, yet in practice, that does not seem to happen. As a result of its lack of precision and efficiency, I end up trying to fire at enemies in close range and against walls to take advantage of the splash and ricochet effects. But this thing still sucks, and that style of gunplay totally defeats the purpose of it being a sniper rifle. Up next at number 8, we have the Revengenader shield. I'm particularly salty anytime a Pangolin product ends up on lists like these. Unfortunately, while really cool in theory, the Revengenader shield is pretty much trash. Sorry, Rika. The Revengenader is a blue rarity shield from Pangolin that can be obtained from farming Maxitrillion over at the Voracious Canopy on Eden 6. Its unique ability is that on shield break, it tosses out a free grenade based on your equipped grenade mod. I mean, that sounds freaking cool, and a bit like a version of the Martyrdom perk from COD that everyone loves so much, but no. With a 10-second cooldown and the inability to direct the grenade, it's essentially worthless and can even be a detriment if you're near barrels when it goes off. And ironically enough, the next item on our list is actually from Maxitrillion again. Man, that guy has all the garbage in one spot if you ever want to go looking for, trash or something. Anyways, the Horizon is a legendary shotgun manufactured by TDR and comes in all elements. Like many TDR weapons, this can come with a few reload modules, and of course, homing is the most desirable. Its unique ability is that it will create a singularity when the thrown weapon is shot. Watching this in action is a sight to behold. Not only because singularities have always been cool in Borderlands, but also you have a front row seat to the disappointment that is the Horizon. See, while this shotgun can create a singularity, it doesn't last long and doesn't have great range. Also, the damage is just not what you'd expect from something with really good stats and an emphasis on splash damage. Ultimately, this might be due to the huge TDR reload nerf early in the game's life, But really, I can't remember this thing ever shredding. Looks damn cool though. For a company that only makes shields, Anshin making any that are not good is always a letdown. Unfortunately, that happens quite a bit in this game, and having shields with cool gimmicks that aren't useful is a theme carried by our next item, the Messy Breakup. This legendary shield is manufactured by Anshin and can be farmed from racks located in the Meridian outskirts on Promethea. It only comes in corrosive or shock elements, and its unique ability is that you get a drone following you around that shoots at enemies. It helps provide a little bit of offense with your defense. Also, every time the shield breaks, you get an additional drone to spawn for 10 seconds, and you can even have more than 2 drones out at once. So that is super cool in theory, right? Yet when I try to use this shield, I end up not really killing anything but myself as I try to let the drones do the work they were created for, and am immediately filled with an overwhelming sense of disappointment and a lighter wallet from having to be respawned at a new U station. Additionally, you get to endure the pain of having to listen to a Genevieve voice module the entire time with like 30 lines of dialogue either talking trash about you breaking the shield, you cheating on her, or some form of innuendo that just makes me cringe. Okay, now we're getting into the really, really good stuff here, okay? Up next, we have the Juliets Dazzle. I don't know what originally drew me to this gun so much. It has never been good and isn't super useful in most situations. I think it's just one of the cleanest looking ARs that Torgue has ever made and sounds amazing when fired.
You know what?
The Juliets Dazzle is a legendary AR made by Torgue that can come in cryo and no element forms. Its unique ability is that, just like the Soleki Protocol, it fires projectiles that pierce, ricochet, and deliver splash damage. Also, the magazine completely refills on kills. Again, this all sounds cool, and when you use the gun, you feel like it should definitely shred, but yeah, it just doesn't. Alright, so why? Why is it bad then? For one, it is obtained only on Mayhem 4 and above. For a weapon that does not remotely instill fear in the enemy, it's a joke to require Mayhem levels to get it. Secondly, you never can kill anything with it, so its reload on kill gimmick is not even a consideration. Surely, with pellets that pierce, ricochet, and deal splash damage, this thing has got to be good at mobbing at least, right? No, it's not. This thing is not good at anything except delivering disappointment. It's a beautiful weapon with a beautiful name and what should be a very useful gimmick, but it has never actually been even good enough to carry around as a just-in-case type of weapon. Very sad for it to be done so dirty like that. I mean, hasn't Juliet been through enough? And at number 4, we have the Red Card Recharger. This is a variant of the Red Card shield, and it is a significantly better version of it, but ultimately, they're all terrible. Let me tell you why, but it requires a little bit of imagination to fully appreciate its horribleness. Picture, if you will, a lone Malawan trooper, the last straggler in a trash mob you just decimated. The trooper is very nervous knowing all his buddies just got slaughtered, and you're staring daggers into his soul while you're deciding the best way to turn that dude into a fine mist. He's fumbling with his weapon, trying to switch elements, but he knows it's futile. This poor dude is only thinking about how angry he is that he didn't want to sign up for that accidental death and dismemberment insurance when he was hired.
Yeah, not looking so expensive now, is it, Steve?
So naturally, your first thought is to whip out a Hellwalker and get ready to watch this guy disintegrate into an afterthought. But then you think, hold on, how else can I embarrass this poor chump? You rummage through your backpack and find a shiny new legendary shield made by Anshin you forgot you picked up after defeating the Valkyrie squad in the takedown. Hell yeah, that'll be dope. Let me equip an item made explicitly for this purpose. Reading the title card, it appears this shield will suit your needs perfectly. Sliding into an enemy drains your shield, but in return, you deal elemental damage based on the amount of shield drained. That sounds frickin' sweet. Let's do this. Okay, bet. This is going to be fun, you think. And during this whole 10-minute process, of course, the Malawan Trooper is still there. Just go with it, okay? Now, after you put this thing on, you start getting hyped. You're ready for the slide of death to ruin this guy's day and create a revenge arc for his wife to embark on for a BL4 side mission. You start sprinting and then whoosh. We're sliding into this guy with full shields, ready to punish him simply for existing. We're inches away from contact and you close your eyes, bracing for impact, knowing how bad the particle effects are in this game and that you'd like to retain your vision to be able to play BL4 when it releases. Then BAM! You hear a crunchy shatter sound followed by squishy sounds and you think it's safe to open your eyes and see the destruction left in your wake, but are absolutely shocked to see not only does Steve still exist, but after his own shock of surviving the encounter wears off, he proceeds to run and hide behind a barrier and continue to take pot shots at you while your shield recharges. So this long drawn out scenario is not just a fever dream I had one day and decided to share with you. No. This has roughly been my experience every time I've tried to use this stupid shield. It's an interesting premise, and the fact that almost all the Malawan troops can use it effectively just proves to me it was never meant to be used at higher difficulty levels, and never as a main source of damage. What a waste of a cool idea. Hopefully they'll fix it in BL4. The next stop on the train of disappointment, we have a blue rarity shotgun from Malawan named the Shrieking Devil. It only drops with elemental damage, and like most Malawan weapons, you can switch between 2 of the 5 elements. It also does a lot of splash damage, which is ideal for a shotgun. The main gimmick of the weapon is that an elemental nova will go off when firing it, dealing a lot of splash damage in the selected element. Unfortunately, this also does splash damage to the user, making it essentially worthless if you aren't built specifically around it, or running Zane with at least 1 point duct tape mods so you don't down yourself with each shot. It looks cool, it sounds cool, it is cool. It's just not practical, and that is very unfortunate. Okay, in at number 2, we have a legendary grenade made by a Hyperion called the EMP. As it is a Hyperion, it has a fixed longbow delivery module, which basically means the grenade will teleport wherever it's aimed. This grenade is unique because it is designed to specifically target shields. So on paper, it is really cool to have an item that specifically targets and eliminates shields, yet doesn't take up a weapon slot. It can create a nice 1-2 combo similar to how you would use a plasma pistol and then switch to BR in Halo. Shred the shields, kill the enemy, rinse and repeat until you've saved the world, basically. Unfortunately, this item is basically worthless. Enemy shields are easily depleted with almost any weapon, so taking the time to aim this thing while in the heat of battle is often frustrating and not effective. It is somewhat feasible as a sniping weapon, but again, if you have a weapon with shock or even next to mag shock, this thing is more of a hindrance than a help. Yet another great idea that just didn't seem to pan out with all the weapon variety already available in the game. It's a novelty item and can probably be used in certain challenge runs, but that's probably going to be about it. And finally, we are at number 1. Hands down, one of my favorite weapon types in all of Borderlands has always been shotguns. Every game has only improved on the weight and sound of these weapons to the point they almost feel real when you fire them. It's a visceral experience, and even if a weapon doesn't really kill anything, you at least look the part of a badass while on your way in to fight for your life. That said, I have to name the bright side as possibly the biggest disappointment in the BL3 arsenal. A legendary shotgun made by TDR, this thing has one of the absolute best gimmicks I've ever witnessed in this franchise. When you reload this gun, it either explodes on impact or after a certain distance traveled. The awesome thing about this is when it explodes in air, it spawns 4 copies of itself that shoot at enemies in the area. And each copy shoots a different element too, but never shock for some reason. So yeah, with this thing, you're basically an eldritch god, ready to smite thine enemies with the wrath of the elements then. Right? No. This weapon's gimmick is just too weak to be effective. While dousing your foes with nearly every element possible and watching them melt away into puddles of DNA, even CSI Miami wouldn't touch, seems plausible, it is just not the case. For one thing, the drones only last 3 seconds. That's not even enough to kill a low-level Ratch. How is anyone expected to mob with this thing? Also, like most TDRs, ammo is always a concern. The shredding to ammo consumed ratio is just not balanced at all. The only chance I have had at making this a useful weapon is by purposely throwing the gun behind any mobs I want to attack, since the drones seem to shoot the enemies from the rear while I continue to draw aggro from the front. Although if I refrain from firing, there is barely a 30% chance I might live to see a single enemy die. Again, this playstyle does almost nothing to enhance the experience of using the weapon, and it still does not seem viable for most situations. It is a gorgeous weapon, and at least it's easy to farm if you have the Bounty of Blood DLC, but it does not shred. So yeah, that's my top 10 list of items I wish didn't suck in Borderlands 3. Obviously, most of you will have your own suggestions, and many will say I'm wrong about mine. That's fine. Keep in mind that I am not a theory crafter, and I have no patience for making a build around a single item. So if an item takes a bit of work to make it viable, I'm probably not going to know that. So please leave suggestions in the comments so that I can take a look at them and maybe try something else out later. I'd be very interested to see if anyone can easily overcome some of these issues I've talked about earlier, since I love these items regardless of their capacity to shred. Lastly, I'd like to point out that I found making this list a bit more of a challenge than I had originally thought. My list actually stopped around 25 items, and I just whittled it down from there. Considering there are over 400 unique items in Borderlands 3, I'd say that's a pretty damn good sign of things to come in Borderlands 4 and beyond. Thanks for watching, be well, and happy farming. Like many other Alright, I need to chill. Alright. Like many TDR weapons, this can come with a few reload modules, and of course, homing is that sounded shitty. Okay. Like many TDR what's a weapon? What the fuck? Okay, yeah. So TDR weapons. Like many TDR. What the? What's a weapon?